Hey everybody, welcome back. As we get into our skills, there's some 3 essentials that we want to cover before we get into learning how to do all of our skills. And the reason why we cover the 3 essentials first is because they apply to all skills. I'm going to dive into them a little bit to help us understand why they're so important. The 3 essentials are always riding with your head up and eyes scanning ahead, always having at least one finger on each brake lever, and then lastly, having level pedals when we're not pedaling, riding with one foot in front of the other. So why is it important that we always have our head up, eyes scanning ahead? Well, it should be pretty obvious, but we have to look where we want to go, and we have to see everything that we need to be aware of as we're riding. But most importantly, what we need to understand is the process for executing skills really starts with seeing. And if we don't have our head up and we're not scanning properly and taking in the terrain, we then can't plan for what we want to do, and then we can't execute or do the skill or maneuver properly. So we're always riding with our head up, eyes scanning ahead as we're riding down the trail. Next is the fingers on the brakes. We always ride with at least one finger on each brake lever. That's really important because the time it takes for me to move my finger to the brake lever and squeeze and properly brake may take too long in some instances. And we often notice that student athletes are skidding to a stop or even running into the back of their fellow teammates simply because they didn't ride with their fingers on their brake levers. So we always ride with a finger on the brakes. There's one exception to this rule, and what I want to be clear on is that this is an exception. If this is a smaller rider with lesser brakes, such as V-brakes or some older style brakes, they may need many fingers to brake properly. And at that point, that's not safe to ride with many fingers on your brake levers. So I would allow you to ride with no fingers on the brakes only if you are riding with lesser style brakes. And then even then, I would caution that we need to use more space between riders to give you an ample time to stop, and that you don't ride at excessive speeds so that you can properly get your fingers to the brake levers and stop whenever required. Last is level pedals. Level pedals when we're not pedaling. So the reason for this is a couple of reasons why. One, we want to make sure that we're not riding with one foot down and possibly hitting an obstacle out on the trail. We've heard stories of many people that were riding on single track with one foot down simply because they weren't paying attention and that pedal hit something in the tall grass right next to the trail and the bike literally stops and they go flying over the handlebars. And this could have been easily avoided simply by having level pedals when they weren't pedaling through that area. Additionally, riding with level pedals allows us to stand on 2 feet, and that becomes really critical to being able to maintain our balance. So just to review quickly, the 3 essentials: head up, eyes scanning ahead, one finger on each brake lever at all times, and then level pedals when we're not pedaling, one foot in front of the other. Thanks for watching this one. Now we're ready to move on to our skills, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video with the neutral position and the ready position.